Greetings, Marvel Strike Force fans! I am Cerebro, your community manager, and welcome to your first community update of 2021. Now, there's a lot to be excited about in Marvel Strike Force this year, including these right here. These are exclusive enamel pins made in partnership with Marvel. You're going to have a lot of chances this year to win one of these pins. A lot of them will be given out right here on Strike Time, so make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss any of those opportunities. And be sure you watch the entire episode, because after the community update with Zeeks, I will be giving you information on how you can win one of these spiffy Legacy Orb pins. Now let's get to some news, and it begins with some doom without so much gloom. Dr. Doom has a new challenge looming on the horizon for all you Strike commanders out there in the form of the Doom Raid. The new raid will put your entire roster and alliance to the test, requiring the traits of Bio, Skill, Tech, Mystic, and Mutant. You'll also face off against beefed up bosses in the Doom Raid, including some of them which will have ISO 8 enabled for an added challenge. For even more details on the Doom Raids, please head on over to our website, marvelstrikeforce.com, in the update section, and be sure to check out that blog entry. Nick Fury's legendary event, Chasing Fury, is coming back and about to have another run. As always, you'll need a Kree Minions team at a minimum of 5 stars each in order to unlock the Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've always wondered how Nick Fury has the time to fight all those bad guys, yet still write all those inbox messages. Maybe he's got a Ghost Rider! On the Blitz front, you'll have the opportunity to bolster a classic team as well as build up a new one. First up is the Warrior King Blitz, with Black Panther's royal character shards up for grabs. And hot on his figurative tail is the second run of Kitty Pryde's Blitz, Into the Shadow. And doesn't she have the coolest pal ever? Man, what I wouldn't give to have a real-life Lockheed to hang out with. I bet with that fire breath, we would share an affinity for hot sauce. And double your fun without a stick of gum. Really? With a bunch of bonus events that are sure to line your pockets with character shards. Prepare for the Mighty Phoenix's return in the Malicious Manipulators event, where you will have the opportunity to earn 2 times character shards for Villain Mystic Controllers. Also heading your way is the Calling All Agents event, which will allow you to earn double the shards for most S.H.I.E.L.D. characters. It'll be a real S.H.I.E.L.D. shard celebration, and ooh, say that 5 times fast. And rounding out the double rewards is the Bad Science event, where you can make your AIM team come alive with double character shards. I swear, whenever I play with my AIM team, all I can think about is the fact that AIM Assaulter has a passive ability that's called Juicer. It immediately makes me want a smoothie. You guys watch the interview, I'll be back in a bit. Alright guys, I am super happy to have back with us on the show, Mr. Todd Owens, Senior Designer with the Combat Pod. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back.
Alright, so we are here today to talk about mutants. Mutants are a very popular faction within the Marvel Universe and with our players. So first, I think I'd just kind of like to ask you, how does the combat design team kind of sift through that mountain of requested characters? Like, the requested number of mutants has to be like 100 long. How do you guys even possibly go through all that?
Well, it's a long process. It's not an easy thing to do. We have a lot of sources that we go back and look through. One of our main sources is we have a survey response from players about the characters that they like, the characters that they're interested in. And so from that, we have a list of the most desired characters, most wanted characters. We take a look at all the Marvel lore and the comic books and the movies and the old cartoons and the new cartoons and the TV shows that are coming out, and choose from those. And then we have things to do where we evaluate, do we need new legendary characters? Are we upgrading old teams in order to bring them up to closer to the meta? Are we looking to bring in brand new characters? And all those things roll together. And then the last thing is that we want the game to last for a good long time. People are playing it and we want to keep them excited about it. And so we want to make sure that we're rolling out those characters in a pace that allows us to make the best game we can right now and keep having those characters to roll out to bring them in for later on as well.
Basically kind of how I respond now, usually to players when they say, hey, when's my favorite, name here. When's my favorite mutant going to come to the game? I basically now just say eventually. I mean, is that a safe thing to say?
That's a very safe thing to say.
Okay, so we have already disclosed 4 members of the Astonishing X-Men team, and you are here today to talk about the 5th member. Would you care to do the honors for us?
Sure. Bishop is going to be joining the team as the 5th member for the Astonishing X-Men.
Awesome. Now, for players out there that might not be familiar with Bishop, for the 2 out there, could you please give us a little bit of backstory into his character and how he fits in?
Sure. So Bishop is a character that premiered in Uncanny X-Men all the way back in 1991. He's a mutant that was born in a kind of dystopian future. The M brand that's on his eye is a branding for all mutants from his time period, from when he was in a camp. And then when he grew up, he joined the XSE, which is, I think, Xavier Security Enforcers, which was like a police type force in his time period. And while he was chasing a bad guy, he ended up following that guy through time and came back to the present, where he joined the X-Men. And now he works with the X-Men to kind of try to make sure that his future either doesn't come into existence or at least is much better than what he remembered when he was a kid.
Now that we've got a bit of history on the character himself, mechanically, how does he fit in with the rest of the team, the Astonishing X-Men?
Sure. Bishop is a powerful mutant blaster. He's a real heavy hitter. He's capable of burning down enemy teams. He has a great uncounterable basic, and his special and ultimates are huge hits that cycle up really fast. In fact, they're some of the lowest energy specials and ultimates that we have for characters in the game right now. More than just a damage dealer, though, he kind of acts as a bit of a protector in that whenever his turn is up, if he's in good health, then he gives himself taunt, defense up, so that he can charge himself back up and be ready to use his powers the next time his turn comes around. He can only ever have 1 charge maximum, but he gets a charge whenever he takes a hit. So as soon as he's hit, then he charges up. And since his ultimate cycles, it's only a 2 energy. So he's going to shoot it. He's going to take 1 hit. And so as long as you keep him taking hits, which is what the taunt does for him, he's almost always going to have that charge. And that ultimate is going to be big every time.
So what are we thinking about ISO 8 for him? Possibly Fortifier, so that way he can keep taking those hits?
So I like Stryker for a couple reasons. One is that he is such a big hitter, it's nice to have that extra secondary hit whenever somebody has vulnerable up. But his basic, which is what the ISO bonus attack is based on.
All right, so one of the questions we always get when we talk about characters is speed, right? Is he going to go first in the rotation, last, somewhere in the middle?
Well, Beast is going to be the fastest person on the Astonishing X-Men team, but Iceman and Bishop have the same speed, and so it's really going to be a toss-up of which one the computer picks to go first. Since what happens with our game is if 2 people are at the exact same speed, then it just picks the one that's there.
Let's talk about Jubilee. We've announced her before, but today we are announcing her full kit. Now, before we actually jump into her kit, really quickly, could you guys give us a little bit of perspective into like the philosophy of the design team, like how we pick legendaries, how we are thinking about how they're going to work with a team, all that fun stuff?
Sure. So for Marvel Strike Force, the legendary trait is not really a pure power scale trait. What we're looking at is a trait for characters that define, that are key members for their team. They're the ones that tie the team's power together. They're the ones that make them really function really well as a whole, that make them shine in the goals that we've set for the team to really put them over the top. They're the team's linchpin. They're the team's linchpin with really good stats and fun abilities.
Gotcha.
Because we choose our legendaries from characters that we feel represent a key aspect for their team. So past legendaries like Shuri, without her tech, Wakanda wouldn't really be what they are.
Right.
Fury isn't the most powerful person in the entire Marvel universe, but he is kind of the leader of leaders. He's the head of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
Jubilee, very similar to the Invisible Woman, she acts as a moral compass. She acts as a heart for the team. She provides the glue between the older and the younger generations to keep the X-Men focused and together. She's actually led some teams of X-Men previously, and ultimately, when her mutant ability is at its maximum, she is a very powerful mutant.
So once the team establishes that Jubilee is going to be the legendary, what are some things that you guys automatically have to start thinking about when designing the character?
So once we decide on who the character is going to be, on who the legendary is going to be, we take a look at some. I mean, there's the boring stuff of we want legendary characters to be one of our top of the line as far as stats go. We want their abilities to be something that every time you press a button, it feels impactful. Then, no matter whether the character is a legendary or not, what we're looking for are what are those iconic things about the character from the movies that you saw in the comic books, that you see when they're used in TV shows. What is it that people expect to see from those characters and are going to do? And then once we take those, once we find those things, once we identify them, then we want to slot them into the right places. So for something like Jubilee, anytime you see her, anytime you've seen her in the comics, in the games, in anywhere, blind is something that she does. She has to be able to blind.
Right.
Well, what makes blind legendary? Now, blind on a basic, that's not something we've done a lot, and it's something really powerful and really good. So. Wow. That's a great place to put that. She often uses her fireworks to kind of ID people to shoot, or a direction to go, or a place to move. Well, that's a great way to highlight things, and so that becomes her special. What's the best way to use that? Well, let's have the entire team follow up on an attack by having her light up one person first. And then for, the other big thing for Jubilee is fireworks. So she's got to have a giant firework display in her attack. And the good way to do that is a big attack at the very end for Ultimate, where she just blows up the whole team with a great, big, beautiful fireworks display.
So in looking at the kits and talking about them, we've kind of established that this is going to be a good raid team. And also, one of the things that we announced today are the upcoming Doom raids. I don't think it's a coincidence that we kind of are marrying both of these announcements together, right?
No, the Astonishing X-Men team were designed to be a great raids team, the best raids team that we've got. So whether you're taking them through the Ultimates raids or our Greek raids or the new Doom raids, they will be a good team to have.
Yeah, and you guys make sure, if you haven't already checked out today's blog, if you're watching this, just the video, please go check out the blog. We'll put the link in the description of that, and we'll have a lot more details on the Doom raids there. And specifically, there are nodes in there that are just for mutants, if I remember correctly, right? And that's where they're going to be especially useful?
That's what they'll feel especially good on those.
So we talked a little bit about ISO 8 on Bishop. Any ISO 8s you're kind of feeling are going to be particularly powerful on Jubilee?
I like her as a skirmisher.
Okay, skirmisher.
So one of the things that she has in her passive is on every Astonishing X-Men's turn or Wolverine, she's going to give assist now to somebody. So she's going to have assist a lot of times, which allows her to potentially be placing that vulnerable out on a lot of people in order to help, particularly Bishop, get those second shots off and clear the counters in any enemy that might have. So I really like that on her. Now, she does have a pretty high focus, and her basic does place that blind. So if you put a striker on her and she got a second attack, then she could be blinding on her ISO bonus attacks as well, which is another really good way to go to keep the enemy team from being active and effective.
So continuing in the tradition of our game, where we've got some really good duos in the game. Bishop and Jubilee, I hear they're going to be a good duo.
Bishop and Jubilee will work very, very well together. Bishop's mutant power is the ability to absorb energy, and Jubilee's power is to kind of shoot off these fireworks and things. So on Bishop's special, if he's there with Jubilee as an ally, then right before he fires off, instead of just shooting his beams, she powers him up, and then his attack now becomes offense up. It does extra damage, and it becomes unavoidable, and it always crits. So it's a big, big hit. It's really nice when they're together. And then to kind of say thank you to Jubilee for that, then at the end, he gives her offense up and defense up at the end of that turn. All
right. And finally, the big question. This is the question that I've seen pop up a few times, is actually about Iceman. And it's about his pants. People have questions about his pants. Now, I'll set the stage. Like, I remember, Iceman from like the 90s. One of my favorite video games ever is X-Men Children of the Atom. I remember him like he's totally iced over, right? Like he's probably wearing pants, you just can't tell. But, we chose to portray him with pants. Burning question. Do we have any details on our decision to have him not be fully naked?
Well, we are a 12 plus rated game, so we figured everybody in the game should be, wearing clothes. Now, that doesn't include Ultron and Groot, but we figured it was best.
Yeah.
No, we put him in pants because we wanted to make sure that he has a distinct silhouette that could be easily identified versus any other character that is ice or diamond or snow or mirror that is coming out in the future or folks that we already have out. So it gives him a very clear look. If right now, if you see somebody that's the top half is very sparkly and crystal, then if they're wearing white, it's Emma. If they're wearing black pants, it's Iceman. And so in the future, it's a way to make our characters really stand out from each other, even at quick glance.
More recent versions of Iceman have him wearing pants, right? Like this is more of what we would call like a modern look for him, in reference to the comics anyway. Yeah, so in we do have some of the references we pulled for comics that are more recent where he is wearing the pants, and so it's not just us deciding that he needs to have pants on, but ultimately those decisions, all of our characters are the MSF version of our characters. And so there are reasons that we do it for the game. There are reasons that we want to tie into just the rest of the Marvel Universe. And so both to help our game and also what makes sense in what we see in some of the more modern comics is he's got pants on. So for our game, he's got pants. All right, Todd, thank you so much for coming by and letting us know about the Astonishing X-Men team. Both of the events for like Bishop and Jubilee are coming up pretty soon, right? I think around February? Yeah, it should be out right about then. Right about February-ish. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much, sir. All right, thank you.
Hello, Zeke's here, your friendly neighborhood community specialist, and you all know what time it is, the Community Spotlight time. I don't want to brag, but this Community Spotlight is easily the best of the year. Let's start things off on Discord with one of the greatest things we have ever seen, Ironpool's Thing drawing. Don't sleep on this 2D artwork, it's a thing of beauty. I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. Add a little 90s nostalgia to your day with Nilly Z's Wolverine. It's so good that I'm getting the itch to head to the mall and spend the day in the arcade. Speaking of arcades, over on Facebook you can get a glimpse of gaming heaven with Corey Michal's Strikeforce arcade cabinet setup. Hope you saved up on quarters along with Blitz refreshes. I think we're gonna have to try and get one of these for our studio. And it's not quite Halloween yet, but that didn't get in the way of JK's creating the slick drawing of the kids from a small Colorado town in Marvel-themed costumes. Our featured content creators for this week's episode of Strike Time are Vash, Ashi Pastrami, and Chef Crondo. The group hosts a bi-weekly Overachievers gaming podcast featuring other content creators and discussions about the goings-ons in Marvel Strike Force. In one of their recent episodes, they had an in-depth discussion on the game with content creator Remnax. You can check them out at www.ogpodcast.fm.
All right, you still here? Awesome. Let's give out some swag. We will be giving out 10 of these Marvel Strike Force Enamel Pins. All you have to do is leave a comment in the YouTube video below. Let us know your favorite character in the Astonishing X-Men team and why they're your favorite. Be sure that in your YouTube profile you have an email address enabled because that's how we're going to get in contact with you to get your address to send you your pin. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button and share this episode with your alliance mates. We'll see you guys next time. Amos Salter.